Yayuk Setiawati is grieving for her sister, Sri Wahyuni, an Indonesian caregiver who had only worked in Hong Kong for 21 months before she perished in the Taipo fire.
All the people, all the buddy, all the friends, like my sister. So many friends, my sister, because like that.
Your sister made people smile.
Yes.
Your sister, like you, she worked as a caregiver in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Who did she look after?
My sister is take care of elderly.
She looked after the elderly.
Yes.
Yeah, and she looked after an elderly woman.
Yes.
And
sit in the
in
chair well.
In a wheelchair.
Yes, wheelchair.
Could you tell me about your sister's family? How many children does she leave behind?
My sister have 3 children, and the last children is 8 years old.
So the youngest is 8 years old. She leaves 3 children behind.
Yes.
And was she the principal breadwinner of the family? Was she the one who earned the money for the entire family?
Yes, that's right.
What more do you want to see from the government of Hong Kong?
I want all donation or all police insurance for my sister is to her family.
So the compensation to go to the family members of your sister in Indonesia.
Yes, that's right.
That's what you want?
Yes, I just want that.
Venezuela closed. Last Saturday, major airlines canceled flights from Venezuela after an FAA warning. What do you think we should read into this?
We should read into it that strikes are very probably going to occur over the course of this week. If you think back to the Middle East, you and I were discussing that a few months ago. The airspace over Israel and parts of the Middle East was repeatedly closed, not only by the sovereign states there, but also from warnings from the U.S. and other entities. Same situation here. The fact that the president is, in my view, in this case, if he's going to launch airstrikes, I think it's a responsibility on the part of the U.S. to let commercial aircraft, Venezuelan aircraft, know that strikes are coming. So these could be Tomahawk missiles, these could be drones, these could be Marine helicopters bringing Marines ashore. All of that creates a lot of complications in the skies over Venezuela. So when you hear the President of the United States throw that warning out there, to me it sounds like strikes are coming probably sooner rather than later.
And you went through some of the things you think it could be, but let's talk a little bit about that in more detail. I mean, what should we, if that does happen, what do you think is smart to anticipate?
Let's start with a set of options that were probably presented to the president. They run from going after drug labs ashore, but using unmanned aircraft. Again, Tomahawk missiles, drones to go after them. Next level up would be to go after transportation hubs, again, using drones and Tomahawks, but then perhaps adding, Jessica, strike fighter aircraft like those Joint Strike Fighters you showed a moment ago, or the 80 combat aircraft that are on the USS Gerald R. Ford. Next up would be going after leadership targets, Venezuelan military targets, their air defenses, their small Navy. They have about 30 ships or so. Their small Air Force, about 40 aircraft. You could take those out. And then at the very high end of the risk spectrum would be actually putting U.S. Marines ashore, presumably to go after these drug sites, go after the targets I mentioned, military ones, perhaps go after, track down, find, capture Maduro. Those are all options. They all have different levels of risk. I suspect the president is wrestling with all of those. Final thought here, land operations, boots on the ground, very dangerous, not a good idea in my view, because of the complications, the size of Venezuela, twice the size of California. If the president is intent upon escalation here, I think he'll probably end up with the kind of airstrikes I talked about a moment ago.
And when it comes to land strikes, do you believe the administration currently has legal approval and is legally within its bounds for these land strikes?
They think they do. They've articulated this pretty clearly. They believe that the act of transshipping drugs to the United States from Venezuela, in their view, by these drug cartels, is an act of war, and it justifies combat operations both on the high seas, which we've been watching now across the last month or so, but the next level of operation will be to take it ashore. Again, at some point, the Congress is probably going to have a vote on this, if you will, supporting these operations or not. But certainly the administration has been consistent in its view that these kind of operations, the drug running, constitute acts of war. They're going to respond with combat and lethal force.
Yeah. And just lastly, again, we've been talking about potential action in Venezuela for several weeks now. We've seen this buildup of our military assets in that region. I'm curious if your assessment has changed at all in terms of the administration's end game here.
It has not. I have felt consistently from the very start of the attacks on the small drug boats that the size of the forces that are now deployed, these are at least a dozen big U.S. Navy warships, dozens of combat aircraft, dozens of attack helicopters, thousands of Marines, thousands of sailors. That's a big force. It's too big to be doing simply the counter-narcotics. It is about regime change. I think the president would like to do it the easy way, meaning get
Nicolas Maduro's supporters came out in numbers this Monday. We're actually only a couple of blocks from the presidential palace. Maduro himself is speaking on a stage. What you're seeing here is the power base of the Venezuelan government. It's workers' unions, public employees. It's people who depend on government benefits for their daily livelihoods. And this is a movement that has been on power in Venezuela for the last 25 years. Shows of force like this one send a message that the movement is not ready to give up power anytime soon. They've told us, for example, that this is just the latest of a long series of confrontations with Washington, and that they hope that their leader Maduro is not going to bend down to the pressure coming down from President Donald Trump. This is not the majority of Venezuelans. However, it shows that the government is still capable of rallying up the crowd and rallying up its power base, and sends exactly the message that Maduro wants to, that he's on a stage, on center, on television, and seemingly unshakable.
So I wonder what your view is of this meeting in Moscow. Stephen Witkoff has now been exposed on tape for advising the Kremlin on how to reach a deal, even how to influence President Trump. Do you trust Witkoff to negotiate peace on Ukraine's terms?
It's obvious that Ukrainians don't have trust to Steve Witkoff, especially after presenting so-called 28 points plan. There were a lot of proofs that this plan was drafted in Kremlin, in Russian language, and then basically Ukraine was forced to discuss it and forced by Witkoff, by White House. I believe it's a shame for global diplomacy and general for this any kind of peace talks or peace agreements. However, I should say that Ukrainians have more optimism after European partners have jumped in these negotiations. And we just had a meeting today in the Parliament of Ukraine, and we were discussing that there is, well, some, little optimism that we can feel in these negotiations after European partners jumped in.